Hey! Right here. And I'm here with a sword that a lot of people wanted to see. It is a Civil War Spadroon. The thing is based on an 1860 Union sword, a non-commissioned officer's sword that was used, but this is an actual unique version because it has CSA on it. This means this is a Confederate version. There's only a couple of these have been found in history, and it's Confederate States of America. There's not really surviving examples of this, although it was made. They had a musician's sword that had a handle, the Union did, that had a handle much different than this, a very small handle and not very functional. This was actually designed to be functional but also decorative, and it is a Spadroon. If you look through history, you'll see that Matt Easton, or Scholagladiatoria, has done quite a few videos about Spadroons. This one seems to be a little bit tougher because I would most certainly would not sit here and press this into my hand like I have seen him do on other versions. It's a little stiffer. Between cutting thruster, probably not the best in either one of those. In some circumstances in history, it's become very useful depending on the situations. I'm sure Matt's brought that up in a few videos, but a lot of people don't like Spadroons. But today, what we want to do is try this sword out. So a lot of people have suggested we're going to try on an analog ballistics gel belly. We've got our Valkyrie here, and I've got our ballistics belly jelly here, or jelly belly. And this is a high-grade jelly belly. We're going about 20% gel here, almost 20%. So it's going to be very tough to go through. We've got a military jacket, a little bit later century, but it's still the type of quality they would have used on this type of jacket. It's double-breasted, meaning that this comes over it and it doubles over. That means that we've got over 4 layers and padding in this jacket. So I think that's more than enough to test a Civil War uniform. A lot of people, what they'd be wearing, some people might have been wearing really heavy wool jackets that might have been heavier than this depending on the weather that they were fighting in. But just an average battlefield with a nice cool day, yes, I can see people not wearing much more than this. So let's go ahead and try this out. We'll try some thrusting, we'll try some cutting, and we'll see how this sword performs upon request by many viewers. I would say that is a beautiful cut. Ha ha ha. So I think the sword held up well, and yes, that is a good sword. I mean, in my opinion, it does everything it's needed to do. If you were cutting pure flesh without anything covering it, it would do its job. Beautiful blade.
Hey, at least you got a targeting situation where you want aim.
Oh, the double-breasted part.
Yeah, but you can also aim between the second and third row of buttons in the double-breasting, and you know the gel's right there.
Very true.
It gives you a target.
I have the jacket all closed up, the double-breasting. I'm determined that I have to hit between here and here in this area. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start off with a cut, because a cut would probably be the least likely thing to do the most damage. The thrust is more likely to go through these 4 to 6 layers because it doesn't have like a type of batting or something. So let's go ahead. That's really tightly woven cloth. We know how well cloth holds up, and that cloth is very difficult to cut through with a lot of swords. So let's go ahead and see what happens. One of the things I like about this sheath is it's all leather. Not as sturdy or protective as the steel sheaths that they used during the Civil War in the sabers, but it doesn't damage your edge either when you put the sword up. So a lot of the Civil War swords would be dull because they took them in and out of the sheath so often that it never fit exactly right and it would damage the edge. This one doesn't damage the edge, so got a nice edge, and I made sure I touched it up a bit. Let's go ahead and see what happens. I'm thinking about trying something with a cut in this fashion, like maybe like through fencing, and you come in and just do a nice sweeping cut to the body, like come across. Cool. We cut some fabric, but as we saw, there was a lot of bounce like we normally get. It's right over the gel, but it didn't go through. Let's go ahead and try to change that up a bit. Try to do it about here. I want to try to use what a lot of people consider the point of percussion, where you have the best point of percussion on this was probably somewhere in this range, so let's go ahead and try that. Oh.
There goes
We
the
took
button.
the button in half. So what we did is we effectively cut a button in half, but we didn't go through the actual jacket itself. Now that's me using parts of the blade that people normally commonly use. You'd think they would try to cut in this manner, or possibly something like, and we saw that bounce as I tried to draw it through. So that's hitting gel, which is acting like a belly, and the fabric, and it's just not allowing it to go through. Let's go ahead and try what I would normally do, using the tip, and see what we get. Ooh.
There goes the upper button.
And in this case, we made it into our target. I would say that's a good inch into the belly. And we made it through, actually, it didn't make it through both layers, it moved one layer over. So as the tip cut through, as it cut further over than the other breasting, the other piece overlaps, it pushed it out of the way, cut through 2 layers, and went, I would say, at least an inch into the body. Okay, I'm going to start off as if I was in I guess out of a class back then, standing ready in a fencing style position, ready to thrust my opponent right into the innards, into the guts, or into the, up near the heart region in the solar plex area. So I'm going to go ahead and thrust in this area. That's where we have it set up. I want to make sure I can hit the actual 4 layers, so I made sure they overlap properly. It shouldn't push it out of the way like it did with the tip cut, although the tip cut was impressive enough going through that layers of cloth for me, but I think it would have went through all 4 easily if it hadn't pushed it. Let's go ahead and give it a nice thrust. Oof. That was definitely over gel, I believe. Look. I'm going to have to pull it out to look. I think we went right under our gel. Sorry about that, guys. We went right under our gel. So that mostly went through cloth. It's not going to count there. Let's redo this. I'm not going to count that one because we want to go through our gel. Our gel is the part that's acting like the actual body itself and actually extremely tough. This is okay in this area, correct?
Yeah.
We made it through our cloth.
And belly into the gel, I guess.
And we made it through all 4 layers and out and to the back. This went all the way through. So this was a little bit lower than I wanted. I was trying to aim right about here, which is still gel, but this is still the center of the gel and all the way through. It's against the back of our actual mannequin. So let's go ahead and pull that out. And it doesn't want to come out. It's actually pulling very difficult. You can see the gel on the actual blade. So yes, I think with the stiffness of this style Spadroon from the Civil War, this one would have no problems thrusting through the cloth that was worn on the battlefield. This one would give you some reach. It's 30.5 inches long, the blade. Almost seems longer to me, but it's a 30.5 inch blade. And I'm sorry, but that would give you a good advantage even against a saber. You can parry with this, even though it's lighter than a saber, and you could thrust if your style was thrusting. So I think the sword would do what it needed to do if you needed to defend yourself. And I can see why some officers, when they're more into fencing, and they practice that style of swordplay over saber, they might prefer a sword like this. I can very much easily see that. Let's go ahead and try another thrust just to make sure that we got an accurate portrayal of what it would do in the battlefield. Right over the gel, and definitely through all 4 layers. It's nothing to go through this amount of cloth. It could go through. It actually stuck in the back of our mannequin. I had to pull the tip out of the back of the shell of the mannequin. So we're getting a thrust all the way to the back of the mannequin, which is that deep. That's definitely a killing blow, and I don't think this cloth is going to perform any special miracle in stopping an actual thrust. Actually, even the tip shots it was having difficulty with this. Might end with some kind of tip shot coming down. We very rarely do that, like try to cut the tip shot coming down, but I'm curious what it would actually do. Ugh. We came on through, but it didn't make it through all the layers. Our tip shot made it through the first layer, but it doesn't appear that it made it through the second layer of cloth. So in my mind, that's proving that cloth is still pretty protected. That tip was pretty damaging, but it just didn't have what it took to go through the gel. Your worst nightmare with this thing would be the thrusting, I imagine. That would be the thing that you would have to fear. Try one more good one. Try to go across. made it through layers of cloth, but our gel was barely scathed. That was mostly just a literal tip shot. Okay, I'm quite impressed with this. I think we have a good amount of gel here too. Let's try that one more time, coming across with an actual cut. Kind of tippy, but not quite 100% tippy. Oh, one heck of a bounce from that. And no cut, because when it bounces, you're never going to cut. That's why the tip shot's the only thing that will actually dig in and cut. It just doesn't quite have the cutting ability of some swords. But other than that, the thrusting is superior, in my opinion. It's doing extremely well as a bayonet would do, even though it does have some give. Overall, I think it's an excellent sword. I think this was an excellent test. Thanks for suggesting it. I had several viewers suggested due to Matt Easton bringing up how they were not very good at anything. Apparently this one is a little beefier version. Like you said, some Spadroons aren't so bad. This one's stiff enough that it has a good thrust and a fairly decent cut. We did get an inch or so, or maybe an inch or inch and a half into the body with a tip shot, cutting across the belly in a sweeping cut. We also cut the fabric very many times, which shows that it's got a good sharp edge. And we got thrust all the way into our gel. Let's examine that gel now and finish this off.
Come on, undress it quickly.
Huh?
Nothing.
You want to see quickly?
No, I was hoping a smart ass.
Apparently our cut was in this area, and like I said, it's about an inch or so. It's right here. We have a thrust here that went all the way through, another thrust here that went all the way through, a thrust here that went all the way through. And there's no point in me actually trying to run my finger all the way through and splitting the gel and forcing it in there. And the thrust, they're not very wide. And if I were to do that, all I'd do is be tearing the gel up unnecessarily and not proving a point, because we know it went all the way back and hit the back of the man and stuff. The cut was still impressive, although it's not very long. That's about 2.5, 3 inches long, but it went in 1.5 inches. So that proves that the tip shot's more like a thrust in some ways and can penetrate fabric, cutting across it once it cuts through a small amount of it. So actually this jacket, in my mind, held up very well as acting like some kind of armor. This man was not wearing a jacket at all those cuts would have been very effective and cut completely into his body, most likely killing him. So anyway, great test. I love it. Great sword from Medieval Shop. If you want to go by there and check it out, you can actually buy this one. I believe he has it under decorative swords. I honestly believe this one is under decorative swords, but it actually was a functional sword as well, apparently. I mean, people did carry them, and some people wanted them, so that's why they were made. Spadroon at the time, an 1860 model for the Union. This is a CSA, Confederate States of America version that they had made for their officers as well. Anyway, as I always do, I bid you farewell.